When was the last time you made a goofy little game? Or even just a drawing or a song or any project that served absolutely no purpose other than your own enjoyment and a little bit of exploration? For me, it's been a while, but I just got back into it and it's bringing back all these memories of goofy little games. Not goofy little games, actually, goofy little songs, goofy drawings, and writing projects that I've explored in the past. So, that's what we're talking about in the develop portion. We'll talk about some games that I think started with this kind of a mindset as well. This is Game, Develop, Repeat. I'm your host, Chris, and thank you, as always, for joining me. Katamari Damacy is the first game that I think of anytime I think of a goofy game. Now, it is by no means a little game. It is a cult classic. It's a major success, but the underlying feeling of the game is goofy. It feels like it comes from a place of just joy and exploration and just absolute unhinged artistry. I don't know what else to call it. You've got other games like this too. Oddly enough, Yakuza is a good example of this. Not the main line, not the main through line of the game itself, but the mini games, the karaoke, the millions of things that I don't want to spoil about it. The little fishing games, some of the side quests feel like somebody gave everybody in the studio the prompt of just put these characters into a weird situation and see how much fun you can have with it. Like, I don't know how exactly they accomplished the Yakuza series, particularly, well, the ones I've beaten, which are Yakuza 0, 1, and 2, Kiwami, so the remakes of them. Those games have a remarkable energy, right? They go from some of the most serious, heart-wrenching moments to some of the most like gut-busting hilarity. There's a audiobook series that has moments like this too, Dungeon Crawler Carl, that people in this community probably know, and people from the old school Tallest Tower Games community definitely know because they talked about it quite a bit. It is a really good series that has so many things that you would just never advise somebody to put into their work, right? It's so many things that are just like, oh, the guy who made this is having a good time, is goofing off. Marc Ribier is a musician who does this. A lot of other improvisers kind of have this energy behind them that feels like they're doing it for their own sake and you're along for the ride. Now, there is a catch here, which is that you can't really force that kind of goofy, joyous energy into your project. I'm of the belief that in order to make a super goofy, fun project, you have to be having a good time. It's hard to command yourself to have a good time, just like it's hard to command yourself to fall asleep. You can set yourself up for it, though. You can explore different ideas and hope that you collide with a good time, and then you can go for it. You can follow that, you can track that, and enjoy yourself. So maybe you start exploring different ideas and you run into something else entirely that you feel like exploring, and maybe we're not doing a goofy game anymore. Maybe we're doing something deep and dark and depressing, or maybe we're doing something particularly heartfelt. That's cool. Explore that idea if you want to, set it aside, join in with it whenever it feels like it's the right time. Anyway, goofy games. Earthworm Jim is one for sure from my childhood that has that kind of a vibe. There's a lot of old Sega games that feel this way. Toe Jam and Earl is more trippy than anything, but I think it falls into this category. Here's a thought for you, or a question for you. Do you like those kind of games, and where is the line for you? Because Katamari Damacy is pretty far into like insane goofy stuff, but a lot of people like it just because it's so well executed and kind of fascinating. But something like Toe Jam and Earl, that's a little bit of a hard sell because it's this like Sega Genesis roguelike with like bad like 90s rap themes. It's very weird, but it's very enjoyable. I like things about it, but I don't think it's as likable despite being, equally ridiculous and giving me a similar feeling in some ways to Katamari Damacy. I think because the frustrations of Toe Jam and Earl are much clearer to me. I think that's probably what holds it back and keeps me from just like really leaning into it. And then there's accidental goofy stuff. The kind of thing where you're like, they can't have done that on purpose. These are the best ones. These are the things that I can 100% get behind and say are like genius pieces of art. And the first thing that I think of is bad voice acting. I highly recommend watching Nakey Jakey's video about crappy voice acting if this interests you. I've probably mentioned this before on the podcast like 100 episodes ago. That is a miracle of gaming. These old, awful voice acting scenes. And everybody's probably thinking of the Final Fantasy X laughing scene, which is horrific. And I will argue till the day I die that that is a bad execution of a scene and that it would be good if you could just skip it. But anyway, I've heard people argue that it's like good and an artistic choice that really depicts the awkward moment for the characters. My argument is always you can depict the awkward moment without making me feel like I need to jump out of a window, and it maybe it's too effective. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, voice acting from like Resident Evil, there's horrific stuff in there, and then there's things that I can't even think of that were referenced in that Nakey Jakey video that are phenomenal and just some of the worst voice acting of all time, creating this environment or this vibe of like everything is so serious and you have to save the world and there are zombies everywhere and we're all gonna die. And by the way, here is the most ridiculously poorly acted line ever that in this context just makes it feel like somebody is making light of the entire situation, maybe losing their mind for no reason. It shatters the fourth wall. Third wall? Fourth wall. I don't remember the difference between those two terms, but it shatters the illusion of the whole world that it's creating, and it shatters the immersion and can really make for some good laughs. So those are my favorites. I need to play more of those, to be honest, because I think I would have a really good time with it. All right, here's where the meat is for this episode. This is what I really wanted to talk about today. I really have a tendency to try to force myself to have fun developing things, to try to force myself to just have a good time, right? Goof off, enjoy it, whatever. That doesn't really work because for me at least, I have this underlying principle in it where I'm like, let's goof off, but let's do it in a very productive way. Let's have fun with it. Like I always say at the end of every episode. Like, let's have fun with it. But then I go, but, structure it in a way that makes sure that you're developing the right skills at the right time. Get the spreadsheet out, lay out all the skills that you need to develop, and then figure out which projects are going to develop which skills, and then go have fun doing those projects. It's a very mandatory fun approach. It's a very, like, it's a rough angle. So, recently, I just started a project for the fun of it. Just I had a goofy idea and I went, "Oh, I can do that." And I started doing it. And surprise, surprise, suddenly I'm doing way more on that project than I've done on any of the ones where I'm like forcing myself to have a good time or like tricking myself into having a good time. not that that's completely, not that we got to completely eliminate the idea of tricking yourself into having a good time a little bit, or like structuring a project that's kind of boring so that it can be a little bit fun, because you have to do it, and we might as well have a little fun with it. But I think generally speaking, it's a lot nicer to do a project that's just fun, that's just enjoyable, that's just exciting, whatever that feeling is that you're compelled to do. Don't compel yourself to do a project. Do a project that you're compelled to do. There it is. That's what I was looking for. That's my new angle. And it's taken me a while to find this, actually. It's taken me, what is this, episode 185? No, I'm kidding. I mean, I've been in and out of it, right? Like Soot, the game that I released on Steam, started as one of these. I was excited about something. I started pursuing it. I was excited as I kept learning, and so on and so on. Towards the end, it started to wind down, and I stopped caring as much. And like, I just kind of like went, okay, I'm kind of done here. And then I wrapped up the project because that's what I promised myself I would do, and that was exciting for me in its own way, but not in the same way. There are other instances of this kind of a little creative joy. When I was doing my guest spots for second mention of this podcast in this episode, when I was doing my guest spots for the Tallest Tower Games podcast, where I was just coming up with game design ideas, that was just straight up goofy fun. And I got a lot out of it, and a lot of joy out of it too. Like, yeah, I happen to develop a lot of skills that way because there will be something that I am trying to accomplish that I don't have the skills to do. And by pursuing it in that way, by that's not even the right framing. By doing something that I love doing and am excited about, I end up developing skills rather than developing skills so that I can pursue something that I'm excited about. I had the cart before the horse. I had it all mixed up. Sometimes it was going smoothly, but I didn't notice those times. Because you notice your development when it's not working, and then you don't notice it when it is working. So then there are times where you go, oh, why aren't things working? Things were working before. Well, you didn't notice what was making them work, so now you gotta look back and figure out what's changed in the formula, or just have a different approach. And I think that it is, okay, here's my point. Here's my argument here. It is very worthwhile to just pursue dumb little projects. I made a game at one point, which I did not tell anybody in this community about really, but somebody ran into it because they were following me on Itch, which was a little like video choice game based on a streamer that I like, a streamer, Pay Money Wubby, who is very crude. he's not like the most like family friendly dude for sure, and I knew that he had an interest in having a game made, like a dating game made out of his stream, out of clips from it. So I just made a little demo of a tiny little chunk of that, and I sent it to them, and I put it on his subreddit because it was fun. Actually, I think I may have mentioned this before, but that's the kind of project where I just go, okay, cool. I had no idea if I had the skills to execute that. I was like, how do I put a video into Godot? How do I put this? How do I do that? No clue. And I'm going to post it on their Reddit. I'm not familiar with their Reddit. Like, what in the world? But I just gave it a swing, and then I learned some stuff from it, and it was cool. And now, right now, I'm doing a fun little project, making fun of an old video of Kanye. I won't get into every detail of it. It's just a goofy little project, and it feels nice to just let it ride and go, oh, this one's good. This one's nice. This one's goofy. I've done this with music. I've done this with writing. When I think back on it, all of the best projects that I've had, or all the best experiences I've had creating a piece of art, have had the energy of a kid on the playground who like sees something cool and goes, what if I do this with it? Right? What if this is a baseball bat? What if that's a baseball? What if we jump over this stick and then grab that one and throw it over there as far as we can, right? Like things that really have no no really intense structured design process behind them. Now, integrating this with a structured design process is probably going to be something that drives me crazy for a long time. There's probably going to be a lot of times when I'm like, okay, well, I need a design here. Like, I need to know what this mechanic is going to be, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll implement it, and then it won't quite click, and then I'll have to go back to the drawing board and so on. Like, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of back and forth, kind of a tug of war between the design process, like the structuring of things, and the making sure that it's something I can go back to and work on and have some degree of a map for it, some degree of like, oh, this is where we're going. But I think that skill is going to come later, and I think it's going to be, for the moment, the other side of this tug of war, or this balancing act, really. It's not a tug of war. The other side of this balancing act is just finding ideas that are exciting and pursuing them and enjoying them as I do it. And then knowing or trusting that whatever skill it is that I need to execute those ideas, I can develop it. I can find it. I can learn it, or at least learn enough of it that it was worthwhile. I mean, if you have enough patience, you can kind of figure out whatever. That's a rough one, though. Having enough patience, it can be hard, especially when something's frustrating. So I think that's the angle, though. I think this is an exciting idea. This is cool, and I can probably get it done. And I think I have enough patience to do it. Now, what I'm telling you really is go out there and make the next MMO. Go solo develop the next World of Warcraft. You can do it. Just be patient. Don't worry about technology advancing to the point where your product is no longer relevant when you're not even a quarter of the way through it. Just go make the next MMO. Okay, sorry. Being too sarcastic, but you can take that idea and you can shrink it down and you can have fun with it, right? You can make a little tiny version of it, or you can make some weird spin on it. If that's what has you excited, and you're excited because the idea is fun to you, not because you want the fame and glory or the money, then I think it's worth like taking it. Not that there's something wrong with fame and glory and money, but as a creative motivation, I don't think it's the best. Embracing that motivation towards making something cool that you're excited about, I think is pretty cool. It's pretty fun. It's pretty useful. It's just a good way to enjoy yourself. I have one more thought about this make an MMO thing that I haven't expressed cleanly before. So I'm gonna try to express it like clearly, which is that the urge to make an MMO, or the urge for me to make a JRPG, is sometimes I want to make the game that I want to play, right? And that's cool, but like there's some version of that that's not that great. And I'm trying to pin down exactly what it is and what the subtlety of it is. I know with an MMO, part of the problem is that in order to make the version of the game that you want to play, you just have to have so many resources and there have to be so many other people playing it that it kind of doesn't really work. So you got to pivot in an interesting way. With the JRPG thing, I think it's also maybe a resource thing. Like, what is the game that you want to play? Is the game that you want to play a AAA game? Maybe you got to knock that back. Maybe you got to pull it back a little bit and go, what is the game that I want to play that I'm capable of making? So what I'm trying to say is I'm not proposing that we all just pursue our dream projects. What I am saying is I'm proposing that we all pursue achievable, enjoyable projects. And I know that seems like a weird distinction to have to explicitly draw, but I do think it's a little bit easy to get those two things mixed up. I think it's easy to go, no, this is my dream project. This is what I want to work on. Therefore, it is the only enjoyable thing for me to do. No. There are lots of things that you can enjoy doing that are not so overwhelming. And those are what I'm proposing that we all strive to do. All right, I got one question for you this week, and that is, what is a goofy little project that you enjoyed making? Just search through your memory and find something that was just fun. Maybe you have kids and you were just making some art with them or doing some finger painting or whatever. Maybe you were doing something musically. Maybe you were playing with some bottles or hitting on some buckets, making a little beat. Maybe you were doing a rap with your friends late at night when you're sleep deprived and you were like, oh my God, I can rhyme tunnel with funnel. I'm a genius. And you just start ripping some really bad rhymes while everybody goes, please, God, can we just go to sleep? That was a hyper specific example, but what was the last goofy little thing that brought you a little light in your life, a little joy? And does your development process ever feel kind of like that? Is there a way for some of your game development to like leave space for that? I'm not saying make it feel that way, but I'm saying if you're forcing it to not be that way, is there a way for you to go, oh, wait, actually, that's allowed. We can have a little fun. We can goof off a little bit. Maybe even at work. I'm a big advocate for being a little goofy at work, having a little fun, letting everything be not quite so serious. That's the question. It's a long form version of saying the question, but there's your question. That is everything that I have for you this week. It's a little bit of a shorter episode, but that's all right. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, get out there, make some stuff, and have fun with it. Bye-bye.